What's Gucci, everybody? It's AJ here again, and today I want to talk about else if, and else conditional statements. Now, in the earlier tutorials, I've used the if statement, which takes in a conditional, and if the conditional is true, it executes the code within the brackets below. Well, there are also other conditional statements that provide for further execution to make your program a little bit more bendable and able to do many more things than just a straight line of line-by-line reading and execute based on results in your code. So, as you can see here, I have this if statement, and let's make my int variables more enticing. So let's name my int variable Ryan, and let's name my other int variable Michael. And I'll make it 10, and I'll make this other one 10. And I'll, again, make a conditional statement seeing if Ryan is equivalent to Michael, and then I'm going to print out a string. And I'm actually going to use a different method here inherited from the standard input-output library, which is included in line 1. I am going to use the puts method, and what the puts method is it takes a string, this is true, and it prints it out and advances you to the next line. And puts statement is different than printf in that printf I can print out values. As you can see, I can use the %d to print out integers or values of things, but puts only prints out strings. So I can only print out like, oh, this is the value or something of that. I can't print out variables or other input. So as you can see here, it prints out true, and also puts also advances to the next line automatically. So if I put another line and another, if I put two put statements, they're going to be on different lines. As when I run this here, this is true and this is true. And if I ran printf, I would need to have a /n to do that. /n puts you automatically advances to the next line. So I believe by running this, I will go between lines. Yes, because I go to another line and then automatically executing at the end of this statement automatically goes down another line, thus separating the statement by one line. Okay, I just wanted to show you another method for another tidbit for you guys to learn. But let's get to the meat and bones of this talk, and that is, as you saw, I have an else statement. I have an if statement as my bad, but what I'm about to teach you is the else statement. So now, as you see, I showed you we have the if statement, and the if statement alone, it just checks if they're equal to each other, and then once it gets out of that block of code, which are these two braces underneath the if statements on lines 11 and 14, then the code would just linearly execute until it reaches the return 0. Then it would be done. But the else statement sees if the if statement is true, and if it's true, it runs what's in the if statement, but if it's not true, otherwise else, it's not true, it does whatever is in the else statement. So as you can see, I'm going to put a put statement here. This is false. And there we go. And I'm going to make this if Ryan is not equal to Michael, which is false, and it's going to run this is false. And so as you can see here, I managed to skip what was in this block of code and instead printed out this block of code. Let me just format this with Control-Shift-F on Windows. I guess it would be Command-Shift-F on Mac, if I believe. I'm not that too familiar with Macintosh, but long live Steve Jobs. And there you can see. So the else statement will be executed if the if statement is not executed. So that's something good to keep track of. But what if I had more conditions than just an if statement and an else statement? So I basically wanted to have more than just binary options, where I have one option or I have the other option. Well, you can actually add more options with an else if. So let me try else if, and I'll make it Ryan equals 3, and I will put it like that. Hopefully, what does it say? It says that's a syntax error. Okay, so sorry I took a cut there. I had to go do something. But I have an else if statement here, and let me again put another put statement here, and puts Ryan is 3, and print that out. And let's see if this works. So I believe, oh, I know what's the mistake I made here. I need to make sure the brackets end accordingly. So there we go. Now I'm going to format it, and boom. So I actually don't like how the brackets and the else statements start on the same line, so I'm going to do it like that. It's up to you how you want to do this, but you want to make your program as readable as possible. I know that does differ for some different programmers, and kind of play around with it. It's not too bad, and it won't make a big difference. So as you can see here, since this program is kind of a top to bottom program, or it reads it linearly, it starts at the top assigning the variables Ryan to 10, which now I'm going to make 3, so the else if statement runs, and Michael to 10, and it checked. So first it's going to check this if statement, and it will check Ryan does not equal Michael, which will actually be true. So I'm going to make both of these 3, because if one of these statements is run, it will get out of the entire loop. Or not a loop, but it will get out of the whole condition. So it will only run one of these conditions if they are true. So once it knows one of these is true, it will stop and execute there. So for instance, if the if statement was there, well, let me just show you. So if I made these equal to each other, just this is true would execute. As you can see, just this is true did execute, even though the else if statement is true at all, because only one of them will execute. So let me make this equal to 4, or Michael equal to 4, and run this, and hopefully it will print out Ryan is 3, because Ryan is equal to 3, as in this condition. So it looks through these, but at first it's going to check the if statement, and then it's going to check the else if statement. So if you have something that's below another statement that's on top of it, that's going to be true. But you want the bottom statement to execute, you may want to think about how you're doing your logic, and may want to add an and statement or put them in the same loop. Well, I do have other things to talk about, but I will try to include them in the next video. So remember, if, else if, you have to have a space here, and you only can use an else if you have an if statement as well, and you can have an if statement by itself, but if you have an if and an else if, you must end it with an else, because it needs to know what to fall back to. So one of these statements must execute, and as you can see, there is no condition for the else statement, and that's because no matter what, if all these conditions fail and the code is running and it finally gets to this else statement, it's going to say, okay, I don't care, you don't need a condition, because no matter what, since I finally have reached this, the code is going to run. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a great day. I hope this video was understandable.